that I just didn't have this hatred. Even from the moment I woke up in hospital, I didn't even dislike them. And what you didn't see in the documentary when you watch that is that, there were other people there, not on camera, that were making sure that this was, this was going to go a certain way.
This is purely hypothetical. I'm not trying to set it up or anything. But if like one of the men from that night came forward and said, listen, I want to come clean and talk and talk about this, and I regret what I'm doing and so on, would you be in any way open to a meeting like a person, someone who intended to kill you or almost?
I have met. Well, you saw on the NETLFIX documentary, I sat down with representatives of the UVF, and what you didn't see in the documentary when you watch that is that, there were other people there, not on camera, that were making sure that this was, this was going to go a certain way. We're very, very lucky insofar as that the director and the producer of the documentary obviously were there, and they weren't going to allow the conversation. They weren't going to allow this opportunity that we had decided to take together, the UVF and myself. They weren't going to allow it to be hijacked and to be used in some way as a sort of propaganda mechanism. The integrity of the director, Stuart Sender, and Alexander Orton, Ali Orton, that ensured that this wasn't going to be sensational, it wasn't going to be anything like that. But the lead up to that was very, very, very cautious, because the UVF didn't. Well, clearly they don't get good press. That's it's a bit of an understatement. So they're suspicious of the media, and of course there was an attempt, to put their own slant on it. But if you watch the documentary, I closed down that argument straight away when I said to Winston, look, I wouldn't agree with you there, but let's see if we can talk about something else. If we can see what we can do in the future. I think it was an opportunity missed by the Irish government, and certainly by the Irish government and the British government, because we had, it successfully, started a conversation, and it was a very public conversation that we would see what we could do to maybe you're never going to give closure but maybe to improve things and to improve, as I keep going back to, an understanding between people. And that may have led on to something else, maybe between Republicans and their victims, whatever. But we started a process there, but it wasn't followed through. And that, I think, was a missed opportunity. But I do believe that it's a difficult process to start. But what you were saying, did I ever sit down with them? I did. If you look at the book, there's a section in the book called The Craftsman, which was the second in command of the UVF. And it took quite a bit of maneuvering to have a meeting with him. I had a meeting with him in the bowels of a Presbyterian church in Belfast, a secret meeting, and it was supposed to last for 20 minutes, half an hour, where he would give an opinion and all of this type of thing. And it actually lasted for 5 hours. So if you read the book, the Miami Showband Massacre, A Survivor's Search for the Truth, that I wrote with my friend Neil Featherstone Hall, you can see that on my website is stephentravers.org. But so sure, I think that it's important, and I have done it, and I think that it's very worthwhile to talk to these people. Now, I've never been able to hate them, so maybe that helps. There was a while there when I thought that maybe there was something missing, that I just didn't have this hatred. Even from the moment I woke up in hospital, I didn't even dislike them. I disliked what they did, and I hated what they did. But I never hated the individuals. So I was able to engage with them, and I still am able to engage with them. And channels aren't cut off. So what, as I say, it's not about me anymore. Eugene really thinks it's not about him anymore. It's not about Joe anymore. It's not about any of the people that work with TARP. It's about what's best and how we can avoid this thing in the future. But that doesn't say that, you know, that we will never ever stop demanding justice. You see, you know, demanding justice is not incompatible with reconciliation. It's yeah, they're side by side. Truth and justice, and it can never be justice without truth. But I will continue to do that, and sometimes I'm criticized for it. You know, sometimes I'm criticized by somebody say, "Well, why did you sit down with the UVF?" Sometimes you're criticized because, you know, why did you sit down with Republicans? Why did you talk to them? Because they were responsible. And there have been times when, you know, victims and sometimes high-profile victims will criticize you because they find it, you know, incomprehensible that you can do that. But I think that the fact that, you know, I've always, you know, held the view that, you know, this wasn't, for me, it wasn't personal. I was just a pawn in this awful game. But hopefully we can make a difference. You know, I don't have the key to peace and all of the wonderful things that we need to do before we have a successful United Ireland or a successful relationship or whatever way this thing pans out. But, you know, as long as there's integrity there and that we do our best and we don't do it for the wrong reasons, then I will continue to meet them. Yeah.
You touched on something very fascinating there. I'll bring you back to, if you don't mind. You said that during filming of a particular scene in the documentary, when you spoke to an ex UVF person, you said there were those off camera, but they were in some way trying to influence or pervert the interview. No. Do you mean, yeah? Do you mean like during when the questions they were cutting in or something?
No. Those people weren't trying to influence that. They were just trying to make sure that there was that there was nothing compromising said, because, you know, you've got to be very careful when you say, you know, what we were saying there was that the man I spoke to was a representative of was speaking for the organization. We're not going to say anything other than that. That it was, so you see, these are dangerous. It's dangerous to have some of these conversations because there are people that can you know, use them against you, and I'm fully aware of that. So there's no way that we're going to put anybody in danger. And there were people there that were making sure that something, you know, wasn't, but there was nothing said that so nobody had to step in, nobody had to say anything. And as I say, you know, when there was an attempt, as you'll see in the documentary, to mitigate this and to say the thing was that nobody was supposed to die on that morning, that it was simply to send a message to the South that they could touch anywhere. I closed that down very quickly by saying, without being rude, I just said forensic reports and show that wasn't the case. It was, you know, we wouldn't have been past Newry when this happened. So, but it didn't progress into that any further. You know, the man agreed with me. Yeah, look, let's talk and see what we can, you know, what we can work out and what we can do to ensure that something like this never happens again. And I you know, people may think it's a bit strange when I say it showed incredible courage on from them to actually engage with this, because, you know, once the filming is done, you're handing it over to somebody then to you know, that they can cut it or you know, and make it look whatever way, you know, sensational headlines, but they didn't. These were filmmakers of the highest integrity, And what they simply did was they showed the truth. You know, there was no bias, and when they came across to film with us, they just wanted to be a fly on the wall and to see what, you know, how these engagements were taking place. Of course, having a meeting with we would have liked to have had a meeting with the craftsman on film. That's not to say that he, you know, that we didn't have a meeting with. We would have liked to have a meeting with senior people. We certainly would have liked to have had a meeting with the people who spent time in jail with it, you know. Not to berate them or not to say, you know, you shouldn't have done this or how dare you, or anything like that. It's I don't make these films or the podcasts like this for me. I make it for you, John. I make it for all of the people out there. I know the story. I know what happened. I know all of these things. But it's so that, you know, if we do nothing, only start a conversation about this, and that there are some people who will say, you know, I think you're going about this the right way. Well, that's fine. You know, we've been successful with this, and that goes for people who are involved in both sides of the conflict. And I say both sides, but it also includes, you know, members of security force as well, who did terrible things too. You know, we mustn't forget that they were not honest brokers.